tá fáilte roimh ón talach ag gunta an chlár. Is mis seán a gáhín agus tá fáilte roimh arás chuig an rang bio seo hí a dhéanamh gin gachéon lo. So you're very welcome back to Leavingcertirish.com. John Gavin here, and for those of you who are new, and I'm sure there will be many new people over the coming weeks, tá fíorfáilte roimh, you're extremely welcome. We've covered 15 classes, or we've done 15 tutorials live since the 18th of March, every day that we were, I suppose, working after the schools closed. Agus sanis Lanimid Raig leis an obair. And obviously, I suppose, let's deal with the major issue that emerged, I suppose, from or after we finished on the Wednesday before the official, I suppose, Easter break, that I was doing. The announcement on the Friday that the Leavingcert exams were going to be postponed until late July / early August. I think it's probably fair to say that's not what any of us really wanted, if we're going to be honest. I certainly wasn't looking forward to the idea that it would be extended any more than 3 or 4 weeks, which is what I really was hoping for. I suppose from Leavingcertirish.com's point of view, I had been planning to do some live classes up until probably maybe the end of May, was what I was thinking we'd be looking at. So I suppose from my point of view, with my own students, my regular students in school, my subscriber students, and indeed the live classes here, I've had to really think about how I want to do this, because no more than somebody preparing for a race, a physical race, or a horse race, or whatever it might be, you have to, I suppose, pace yourself properly, and you have to begin to look at how you're going to plan in advance of the class, or in advance of the exams. So I've decided to change things a little bit here. Originally the plan was to go live every day for about 6-7 weeks. That plan has now changed. So what we're going to do is, we're going to, in order to get through all the work in the best way possible, what I'm going to do is be live at 12 o'clock here every Tuesday and Thursday. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, for people who are subscribed to the course, they can do the, I suppose, sample answer work that needs to be done, that I would have originally assumed you'd be doing on your own in June. But because this is now a kind of an elongated process, there's a lot more hand-holding that will need to be done. So what I'm planning is Tuesdays and Thursdays live, at 12, free to everyone here on YouTube as usual. And then Wednesdays and Fridays, subscribers will get self-paced work to do, but I'll be available in a tutorial sense to the subscribers. So you'll be able to come on and do some work with me on Zoom once a week on that material. And then what I'm planning to do is a kind of a slow release, but in an elongated way, the essay work in particular, that's going to be delivered on Mondays, again in the subscriber course, where people can come in, do their work, but I'm available to answer any questions via the comment section, the chat section, or indeed directly via email. So that's where we're going. There's some major changes obviously that have had to happen. I don't know how you guys feel about things currently in the chat. You might just kind of yeah, great to be back, Rachel. Sorry, I didn't have my chat up there. Gramadach. How do you feel about this change, guys? You might just give me some feedback as regards to kind of subscribers, or the kind of people who are here live. You're very dedicated, obviously, the people who've been in here for the past number of weeks, and clearly you're ambitious and you want to do well. So how do you feel about this kind of delayed, postponed start? I would just really love if we could get back to classes sometime in May. I don't know, is it possible? I don't know, is that where we're heading? I really think we should be in classes, if possible, in June. But, you know, even in a one-to-one scenario, I'd love to just, you know, spend some time with my students one-to-one, if that was what it was to be. You know, so let's see how it goes, but let's also stay focused on the fact that there is going to be an exam. I suppose that clarity was delivered. I know a lot of students are clamoring for, postponing or cancelling the exams and all that. That is certainly not a simple thing to do. It's very, very challenging, to put it mildly, to put something like that in place, predicted grades, etc., etc., unless the universities were to come up with an alternative system, which I really don't think they're going to do in the short term. I think we are faced with trying to do these exams. That's what the department are saying. So let's just kind of keep going. Yeah, some of your comments here, very hard to stay motivated, etc. Very, very long delay. I'll just bring up the chat here on the screen so you can see it. It's extremely difficult for people, and I think we all would share the view that it's, it would have been ideal to do this thing in June if possible. At worst during July, but certainly the extended delay is not what we want. Anyway, that's where we are, guys. I think we're all probably in the same boat as regards how we feel about it. Yeah, interesting point there. Bless Anna, I think it's Bless Anna, I'm not sure what it is. It's annoying, but it's fair we get to sit Leavingcert. Definitely, for the people who are working, who have consistently worked, I think the fairest thing is to do the exam. I really do. I don't think predicted grades is to the advantage of people who've done the work all along. I really don't. And more to the point, there's a lot of evidence that it's certainly not to the benefit of people at the lower end of the scale. There seems to be a very, very large body of evidence about that emerging. And there was an article in The Guardian yesterday, I don't know if anyone see it, regarding the damage that has been done to student-teacher relations and teacher-parent relations because of pressure being put on by parents to get, I suppose, inflated grades. And that report came out in the Guardian yesterday, so that's not something we want to be doing either. Anyway, let's get back to what we are here to do today. And I'll take any questions you wish as the session goes on, the usual thing. But today we're going to take a look at, this is the third lesson. If you remember, we've taken a look at mastering the Taoiseach Géineach. We've two lessons, two very comprehensive lessons done already. So for anyone who's new, who hasn't been here before, make sure you go back and look at them, and we'll build on the work over the coming weeks. But today is actually one that a lot of people have asked me to cover, which is the Tríú Díochlaonadh. This is one that caused a lot of challenges. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a look at this today and see with a few exercises can people get on top of it, start to master it, and away we go. Okay, and just again, for anyone who hasn't been here before, you can go in, you can get the notes, all the premium materials, loads of new essays going to be added here in the next few weeks. Loads of information you can do on the self-paced course, on the premium course, but of course all live subscribers or all live classes, the notes for them go to the subscribers as well. All right, quick summary before we get cracking here. Don't forget Tishal Anamnuk, where something is in a normal situation, where it's the subject of a sentence. Remember our basic rules. So if it's masculine, it begins with a consonant, there's no H. If it's feminine, it begins with a consonant, needs a H. So again, what are our examples here? On far, on van. Okay, and down here, don't forget on tossel, on I'm sure, if it begins with a vowel. So they're the basic rules, and then things change around. You've got the H for a consonant if it's masculine, the Taoiseach Géineach. You've nothing if it's feminine, that's the really key one. And then the gutta, you don't have any change, you drop the T hyphen and you have a H before if it's feminine. If that's all gobbledygook to you, you haven't been in here before, you need to go back and look at the first two lessons. All right, so let's crack on today on Tríú Díochlaonadh, the third declension. What's a declension again? It's essentially a gathering of words with similar properties or endings. Agus on Tríú Díochlaonadh, on Countshot, the third declension. This is very important to know because it covers quite a lot of phrases, quite a lot of nouns, should I say. And the way we try to remember it is on letter A. So the letter A is how we remember it. If you remember on K Díochlaonadh, we try to remember the letter I, we slendered out things. On Dar Díochlaonadh, the feminine ones, we remember it because of the letter E where possible. Obviously, Tríú Díochlaonadh is represented, I suppose, by A, the letter A at the end. So, Gahan Shimpli Fad, very, very simply, the nouns associated with this declension. Tá cuidico fearnscannach, and that's the key phrase here. Some of them are fearnscannach, are masculine, agus cuid eile buinscannach, and some of them are feminine. That's hugely important because it has a massive impact on whether you're using on or na before the noun where that's required. Creekni siad chunsan lahan no quill, so they can finish on either a broad or a slender consonant. So you have a mixture of masculine, feminine, broad, slender consonants. It's got everything in here. And I suppose what's very important to see here, if anybody fully understands quill, lahan, I'd hope you would at this stage at your level. As you can see, you've got EOIR and then you've OFAIR. Obviously, this one is slender and this one is broad. The endings are very similar. You couldn't just simplify it and say that they end in IR. K Caunella, we've got the same principle here. Eocht broad, eocht slender, acht broad, acht slender, ert broad, ert slender. So there is not, you couldn't say there's an exhaustive list of which is broad, which is slender, because there's a mixture, and that's why this particular declension is a problem for people. There are some key pointers that help you, and obviously we're going to try and see a few of those now in a few minutes. So, sa tishaginnoch, here's the rule in the tishaginnoch singular, lahniter one broadens on constant dernach, the final constant of the noun, agus quarter a lesh. So, we're going to look through all this in a second. You broaden it and you add an a to the end. Right, so what have we got? Examples. Sample hain. Muntor, I think, is one of the best ways to remember it. Try to remember words that you actually use. So, muntor is a masculine noun, right? And the genitive singular is ORA. Now, what does that mean when you look it up in the dictionary? It basically means that EOIR, should I say, goes to EORA. Now, if you look at that and just write it up here, EOIR goes to EORA. What happened? You've broadened it. That means you've taken out the I at the end and you've added an A, right? So EOIR, the way you broaden EOIR is you go EOR. You take out the I at the end. That's what that term lahniter, if you go back to the rule I was giving you here, lahniter, that's what that means. You're broadening it. You're taking out either an E or an I, and in this case, we're taking out the I, and you're adding an A to it. So that's how we ended up with ORA as the tilde ORA. That's how munt becomes muntora, right? Very simply, EORA. Next one, blian, one you'll be familiar with, hopefully. Sorry, I didn't do one little thing here. So, muntor aslaughter, so as you can see here, there's no H or anything like that, and it's simply EOIR. That's its spelling. Vrishe piaun on vuntora. So, masculine noun gets a H, tishaginneruk, and it's broadened out, and an A is added to it. So, 3 steps. On remains as on. It gets its shevu, or actually, there's 4 steps in the context of Tríú Díochlaonadh. It gets its shevu in this case. You broaden it out, that means take out the I, and the 4th step is you add an A. Okay, so there are 4 steps for the masculine nouns that you have to look at, right? First one, what happens to on? If it's masculine, means is on. If it's feminine, it goes to na. Second thing, start a word, what happens? Well, if it's masculine, it gets a shevu if possible, and then the key steps for Tríú Díochlaonadh. 3rd step is the I is removed, you broaden it out, and you add the A at the end. All right. Next one, we all know this term, an bhliain seo caite, right? So an bhliain seo caite, last year. So that tells you it's feminine straight away. So let's just look. What is it? It's feminine, and it'll become bliana, right? Now what that means again is that the BLIAIN, okay, to broaden it out, that means you take out that, so you're now left with what is effectively BLIANA. Okay, and you add an A to the end. As you can see, it tells you that's what it is in the dictionary. So, nimalum an bhliain seo. I don't like this year. Feminine needs a H. Ire cause it go into tishaginnoch, and then step number 1, on change na, because feminine. Step number 2, it loses the H. Step number 3, it's slendered out. Or sorry, it's broadened out. And step number 4, it's got an A. So you've potentially 4 steps here. If you remember, with the Tisha Ginnock Sachet declension in the first declension, you're generally looking at 3 steps. Second declension for feminine nouns, you're looking at 4 steps. Here in the third declension, you're looking at 4 steps across masculine or feminine. Okay. Sampla Ella. Filiocht. I thought I'd put in filiocht because we're always talking about filiocht as part of our Pop Irido. Sorry there, guys, taking a drop of tea while I'm at it as well. So filiocht, reached, buinishganach, feminine, and simply all that happens is it gets an A at the end of it. So it's malam and ilioch shin. I like that poetry, okay, because feminine, it's got the H, right? Tish amnuk. But tigam tovacht na filiocht. I understand the importance of the poetry. 1, unchanged to nat, because feminine. 2, loses the chevu. 3, nothing can happen here. There's nothing to take out. So there's nothing there. And step 4 is to add the A. Okay, tigam tovacht na filiochta. Sample car on choshk. So Easter is koshk. It's an ISC ending, an interesting one. And it becomes koska. So you should all know the phrase Ariamach na koska, the Easter rising. So ta an choshk hartanish. Easter is over now. It has its H, like ta an van imeha or something like that, because it's feminine. Lein de sira na koska. On changes to na, you lose the shevu. It's feminine. You can't slent or you can't broaden it out, but you can add an A. Okay. So again, the 4 steps. And the last one, nuacht, again a term you should all know very, very well, begins with N, which causes some people a little bit of doubt, but it's feminine. Ta nuachama, you can't put a H in it. Okay, simple as that. You cannot put a H on an N. Neil moron nuachta gum. Moron is what I refer to as cognac, quantity and amount of something, causes the Tisha Ginrocht. So Neil moron nuachta gum and you. I don't have much news. Very simply, we're not using the definite article, so on or not doesn't come into it. But much news, quantity, very simply, you just add the A at the end of it. Okay, so that's an example without the use of the definite article. All right, Keonella, let's get cracking here, guys. Okay, so a little bit of work for you here now. Could you or would you be able to write down what you think these terms match up as? So we've got an luck plus ishke. So could you write down a phrase with luck and ishke together? So luck, obviously lake, ishke, water. So something water of the lake you're trying to say here. And this first one, the manager. By the way, these are all masculine. Okay, so that'll make it a little bit easier for you, hopefully. So these are all masculine. So the manager, in this case, it's coat of the manager. The manager's coat is how you'd say it in English, but it's going to be quota something on Banastor, right? So obviously reverse syntax. Ishke will come before luck. Quota will come before Banastor. Laura comes before Buchel. So this is a great example. The boy's book, right? So what do we think those are, guys? I have them up there on the screen for you. If you have your notes printed out, you'll be able to kind of do some rough work. But if you could just type in what you think the answers are very quickly for any of them there along. Try a few of them. Let's see what comes up on the board. And I'll just show it on the chat board so that people can see the various different answers coming in. Again, it's the same as before. It doesn't matter if you're making mistakes, because the more mistakes are made, the better the class becomes with it. You don't have to submit any answers. This is just to break up the class a little bit. This is how I would do it in my own classes, to give people an opportunity to respond and see, do they know what's what. So could you put a few of these together? There's some great ones down along here. The flower, colour of the flowers, one people a lot wouldn't think about. An the beginning of the lesson, the doctor's advice, the solicitor's office, the actor's ability, telling the time, the price of the watch, and then of course the farmer's tractor. So very good. First one up. Let's throw up a few of these now in a second. I'm just looking at them myself first of all, guys. So John, you're bang on with the first one. Ishkan Lucha, excellent. Right, so that's good. And then we're looking at Kota and Vanastora, Lauren Vokla, Ishkan Lucha. Sheila, you're on the money, bang on. Well done, Kevin. Okay, so we're beginning to get the idea. The crucial thing here is, of course, that you're trying to make sure, because they're Ferenc Canuck, you're always going to have on, right? You're always going to have on as the definite article, and that's the really key thing I'm looking out for here. And then second thing is you're looking to write down, or make sure you write down the chevu, if the letter, the first consonant, can take a chevu. So we've got Díochlaonadh and Cúntóra. Very good. So maybe just bring them up here for a second. So they're coming up here. Brogan Rincora, very good. Oberon Cúntóra, it's a great example. Yeah, Ifigan Zriadora, perfect, Sarah. Right, so we're Chopin Vokera. Now, there's an interesting one that's coming up. And I want to refer to that in a second. Pensioner and Bokher. I'm going to look at those in 1 second because they're quite complex for a lot of people. Okay, so let's go back here and actually look at what these would be. So you got most of them right, guys, so well done. We're definitely making progress here. First one is Ishka and Luka. All of these remain as on. That's the first thing. I keep referring to that, knowing that the masculine version of on and Tishiginuk should remain as on, right? So they're all on, every one of them. None of them change. There's one or two just a little bit tricky. Look, I started with because it's an easy one. You can't put a H and an L. That's the first thing, right? So that's right. And the basic rule of this declension is to try and put in the A, right? So Ishka and Lucha, dead straightforward. I was hoping people would get that. Okay, Kaunella. Kashe Kota on Vanistora. So if you remember Muntor, the EOIR goes to EOR effectively plus an A. Okay, so the I is gone, and here you can see Banistor loses its I and it becomes EORA, right? Next one, Gwichelar on Vochala. You can put a H and a B. So on remains as on, gets the H. Bochel, you slender it out. You remove that I over here. So your ending now is effectively ALL, but you have to add an A. So that's why it's Buchala, like that. Rincor, same as Muntor, easy one. Kuntor, easy one again. Now this one is a little bit tricky, guys. You see these E fada IRs over here? Just use the pointer to make sure we all know where we are. On Bokher, on Pensioner, those E fada IRs. One of the things that happens is those E fada IR endings change. They become broad. And the reason they become broad is we have to be able to add the A at the end. So that effectively becomes E fada A. So E fada I goes to E fada A, and then it becomes ARA like that. And I think Sheila maybe got one of those right there, Chalk and Finchonera, yeah. And Bokher, you went with the O, but I think you may have known the rule. Great one as well. Gavin's just got it there. Dot and Vloha. And this, I suppose, is one that people instinctively get wrong for some reason. It just looks wrong, Da and Vloha, but it is correct, okay? So, again, on remains is on, you put in the H, you can't slender it out, you can't do anything there, but you can add in the A at the end, the fourth step always that you need to check, okay? Intach ar fad, very good, Deodora. You can't change a D or T. Again, anyone who's been in our lessons knows this. You don't make any changes to D or T, as in you don't put anything at the start. Neil Cummins and Ashtor Gama. What happens with these here with the vowels? The basic rule I was bringing up at the start of the lesson, you lose the T hyphen, right? And T flashkin, you lose that. Kailtere ictus on animokal, you lose that at start of the noun when it's in the Tishiginuk. So that's why we've no T here, no T here, no T here. So step number one, let me just go through one of them. Let's go with Urador. So on remains is on. You lose the T hyphen as if it was a shevu. You slender it out and you add the A. So there's 4 steps, whether it begins with a vowel or consonant, got to no consonant, it all is the same process. All right, guys, how's this helping? Are we beginning to see this? Now, I know for a fact that the masculine ones are a bit easier to deal with. The feminine ones in a minute will show very quickly how troubling, I suppose, this exercise is for a lot of people. So just let me know, are we beginning to see this? Can we understand what's going on? I'm trying to drink a cup of tea here, keep myself going. A lot of work on already today. Okay, so while you're just sending some comments there, I'll get on to the next one, okay? And I can, of course, double back if I need to for anything. Okay, so before I go anywhere here, These are simply buinishganacha. These are feminine examples, right? So again, similar exercise to before. Could anyone this time actually write a sentence? We'll go with number 1, 2, and 3 here, right? So could we actually write a sentence? I give you 3 to work with. Filiocht and tema, capadort because it's composition, and kesht, and third one, 3 terms that every single person here should have correct. Could you write a short sentence with each of those in the Tishaginnoch? So these are phrases that you've seen over and over and over again, and you should be able to put in a short sentence with each one. So just write down the number and then your sample sentence, and let's see what people write up. And you should have a kind of an idea at this point what some of these would be, mainly because you've seen them written down perfectly on a number of occasions, and the second thing is because obviously enough I've shown you some of the processes already with an Tríú Díochlaonadh. So let's just wait here for a second. There's a small delay between when I'm speaking and when you're typing stuff up, so I'm just waiting to see what people are going to write up here. Cad é, Sheila's straight in here. Cad é téman filiochta. Very good. And let's see any other sentence or sample sentences that people would use as part of your pauper do I'm thinking of here in particular. Is there anything else that people would say? All right. So just waiting on them coming in here now. And obviously, guys, what we're trying to do here with all of this grammar is we're trying to improve your knowledge and your accuracy. So knowledge first. You can't make these changes unless you know what it is. Is fulam téman filiochta. Very good. I hate the theme of the poetry, right? Now don't mix up the term filiocht, by the way, and dawn. Dawn is a poem. Filiocht is poetry. So as a noun, they're different things, obviously. So people very often use is fulam tema on dain show. I hate the theme of this poem. Is fulam tema na filiochta. I thought, yeah, if you want to talk about a poet, perhaps. I hate the theme of the poetry that he has, or tema na filiochta chumishe. All right. So we're slow enough with comments coming in there. We'll just crack on here because I want to get this done if I can. So what could we have here as examples? Well, these are the examples I've put together, and I actually want to run through them. Now, the first thing on Rud a Santa Si Fuin Gachsha No, every single one of these, because they're Buinishganach, on will remain as on, right? So because of Buinishganach, let me say that again. On will go to na always in the singular. This is all singular Tishaginnoch. So na. You can see it the whole way down along here, can't you? That every single one of these are na. All right. Then we've got Keshna Capadorta. People are getting correct. Good, excellent. So 2 of them right so far, and the last one I'd be hoping we get right too. So she tema na filiochta na gra. The theme of the poetry is love. So what are the steps here again? If you go over here to filiochta, our original one, you can see that it was on iliocht, right? That poetry with a H. Step number 1, on goes to na. You drop the H. You can't slender it out. There's nothing there, but you always look to see can you do it. And 4th step, you add in the a. Shinderna kasuluch down. That's the end of the difference or the similarity in him or something like that. Hosigme keshna capadorta. So on went to na. You lost the H. And again, capadorocht. EACHT is an interesting one, guys. It doesn't change. There's no slendering required, but it does need the A at the end. Okay? And you see that with timpalocht, capadorocht, canocht, all those EACHTs. It's the same process all the way through. So canocht is the same thing. Fermjorochta is an interesting one. Fermjor and Fermjorocht are both in the 3rd declension. So anything on Ermjoroch, but they're 2 different. Sorry, I started that because I wanted to make the point. The term Fermor, so like on Fermor becomes Tarkor on Eremiora. It's a masculine term, but the term Fermioracht, farming as a noun, is a feminine term. So these are kind of differences that catch people out. But again, just to be aware of it. So ta tauchi na Fermioracht duller. The future of farming is unclear. So again, on change to na, lose the H, etc., etc. Now, this I put in on purpose. Right? Tá cumann na sástachta fádric. For anyone studying on Tríú with me, on tástacht is the satisfaction. It looks all wrong to most people, but it is correct, I assure you. On tástacht, the satisfaction. On tástacht atá is fúlin, for example, is fúlin on tástacht atá We absolutely hate the satisfaction that he feels. Agus bhí cumann na sástachta fádric. Padraig was delighted. He looked very happy. So great phrase, but understanding that term is in the Tishaginuk is important. So bin fá na cúta táco, that's the causative power to have. Tigam táhacht na timplachta. This is the one I was looking for, guys. I understand the importance of the environment. Okay, so that's a huge one for everyone. On changes to na. You can't put anything on the D or the T. You can't slender it out. You can't do anything here. And you simply add the A at the end, as always. Okay? So, Ke Kaunella, Níl Winter, take a mission, Sheila, yeah? So, Níl Winter in the public, the sauce, the Republic. Okay, on Foblucht, the Republic. Again, you can see how that changes. A Tusna here. Now, I wanted to get on to just the ones here with the vowels, because this causes a lot of problems, right? Again, the rule with the definite article, the vowels, Tishaginuk, on a himpli or fad, you drop you don't normally have something like I'm sure you normally don't have anything before it. It needs to gain something. On always needs to change to na. It needs to gain something, and what it gains is a H before. And then we can't slender or we can't broaden it out, we can't do anything there, but we can add the A at the end. So there's your 4 steps with a vowel. On changes to na, put the H before the vowel, and then step 3, we can't broaden it, but we can add the A. Okay, and if you look down here at Irucht, it's the very same process. On changes to na, put the H in, can't do anything here, but we can add an A. And Eremulucht, intelligence, to come in the Eremulucht there, he looks quite intelligent. Or he's an intelligent look to him. On change to na, H goes in, can't do anything here, but we can add an A. So there's 4 steps every time, whether you're masculine or feminine. That's what you're looking at. So there's some great examples there, guys. Now, I have just a couple of very simple lessons here that I'd like people to work on. These you should be able to do quite quickly. Now, we've been looking at examples predominantly where you had the definite article on in the middle. But if you just have 2 nouns coming together, the second one goes into Tishaginuk. So that's all you need to do is literally change the word without the H's or any of that. You just change the word into its Tishaginuk format. So that's what happens when you have 2 nouns together. Obviously, where there's on involved, it changes. You got to be very, very careful here. Okay. Now, if you really begin to get on top of your Gramadach, and particularly in Tishaginuk and Inchgina and gender, you will know what the gender of these words is already. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring you through a couple of examples here, and we're going to leave it at that then, because as I say, I'm trying to just, if possible, make these classes a little bit shorter and a bit snappier over the coming weeks. So Vian Gorda something Ilor and Glan. So the guard was in the middle of the glen, right? How would we write that down? What would be the 2 answers there? The next one is Cunnick me, so you can type away as you see it. Cunnick me car, I saw the car of the doctor at the field of the plane. So in other words, I saw the doctor's car at the playing field. The first one I've explained already. Cunnick me Laur, I bought a poetry book and a geography book yesterday. Again, relatively simple one. Myself and Sean played in the hurling match yesterday, and the board of the turf are selling, so the turf board are selling a tractor in the yard, right? So there's 5. What would be your answers? Again, just number them if you're typing them in. What do you think they would be? I think some of these should be reasonably simple. I want to slightly more stretchy ones in the next couple of charts, but it'll be interesting to see what people are able to write in here. Just make sure you number them for your answers as you're doing it. And if you're not sure about them, that's good, because you'll be able to go back, look at the lesson and figure out, well, what exactly should I be doing here? The process is everything. There's 4 steps. If on is involved, there's normally just 2 steps involved if on is not part of the equation. So whether you're masculine, feminine, or whether the words, the nouns, hanamuckle are either masculine or feminine, that'll determine what happens. The first part with on or na. Second bit, is there shave involved? Third bit, can you broaden it out if possible, and can you add an a? So first one I see up here is Sheila's going with Bhíonn Gorda, Díochlaonadh, Ilor an Glana. Okay, good. So the first thing you need to identify is Díocháin ends in a for in. Very simply, you're trying to take out this I and add an a. So Bhíonn Gorda Díocháin, and we should all know the term Gorda Díocháin, hopefully. And then Ilor, because it's going to Tishaginruk, it's on Glaun. That tells you it's masculine, it doesn't have a H here. So on remains is on. It needs to now get a H in Tishaginruk. It's already broadened out, and you just add an A. Okay? And then the next one, Connick make core on. I don't see one with an answer up for the next one. So I'll do it there. Core on doctor. Right, so the first one is doctor. You can't change, on remains is on. I should have had that inside the brackets, but on remains is on. Second thing, you can't put anything on a D or a T. Third step is you broaden it out, take out the I, and you add an S. So that should be Connick make core on doctura, T-U fada or A. Egg pork. Now this is a great one, right? On immert, there's no T hyphens there, so it tells you it's feminine. So pork, na, it needs to get a H because it's a vowel, and it changes to the following. If you remember, we saw an EA change coming about earlier. So here's one of those where I changes to EA. Okay, now it changes na him or ha, EARTHA. So this is a really tricky one for a lot of people. I'll just maybe write it a bit better up here, a bit clearer. It becomes pork na him or ha. Okay, now you may not have ever seen that before, but it's one of those that you need to be quite careful with. Cannig me laur filiochta, very straightforward. You just add an A. I was laur tiroliochta in ye. There you go. Dimmer me fein agus Sean Siklehe ammoniachta. You just add an A. Straightforward yesterday. And this one, we all know this term. It's a great one to learn actually. It's simply board na mona. So how did board na mona come about? Remove the I and add the A, and also, because it's feminine, unchanged to na, and that means you get rid of the H as well. Okay, so that's how we've bored the mona, guys, and it's a wonderful one to remember the third declension by. Okay, so I'd put a big star in that, and if you can explain that, you can explain the 4 steps, right? In the case of the feminine one, on changes to na. Second thing, you drop the H. Third thing, you take out the I, and fourth thing, you remove or you add an A. So if you can explain board na mona, that might be a good way of trying to remember on Tríú Díochlaonadh going forward. All right. Ceanella. So that hopefully, guys, will help you enormously. Now there's another 3 exercises here, and you can come back and do them in your own time. So I'll just bring them up very briefly, so you can pause the video and you can go through and try all of these. And I might start the lesson tomorrow, just going through what the answers are for these. So if that's okay with you, tomorrow's lesson, by the way, I'm going to be publishing in the subscriber course the schedule of lesson releases over the next 24 hours. So very importantly, the key information on the poetry, prose, etc. that we haven't covered thus far in the live classes, that's going to be explained to you in addition to a few other bits and pieces. But tomorrow's lesson will be we'll be taking a look at some poetry, and we'll be starting that process, I suppose, of really begin to bed into what we have to do for the exams itself. So tomorrow I'll start the lesson with these answers. So that's ceacht the dó, and ceacht the trí then is this one. Okay, so a couple in there definitely to get you thinking. Agus ceacht a cahar. Again, some of these are not too bad, but there's one or two interesting ones in it as well. And if you could have a go off of them, and as I said, tomorrow, let's see where we are, and that'll keep you busy for a few hours. All right, or not a few hours, few minutes hopefully today as part of your work. Okay, guys, so Shine, that's it for today. We're going to be back again tomorrow. So don't forget, the change is we're going to be 12 o'clock, Tuesdays and Thursdays, live and free to everybody on our YouTube channel. Wednesdays and Fridays, there's going to be content made available to people in the subscriber course. That would be based upon the work done on the Tuesday and Thursday classes. So if we, as we will tomorrow, take a look at some poetry revision, then Wednesday subscribers will have access to the sample answers for that poetry. And if we look at Friday, on Thursdays, should I say, if we look at some prose, then on Friday the subscribers take a look at their sample answers. And that's kind of the way it has to be, because otherwise we'll just be covering content but not focusing on the actual exam application. And it's important, as I said, that we focus on the exam application from this point forward. And on Mondays then, from now on, there will be new lessons released every Monday. A new essay will be released every Monday up until I think it's the second week of June. Of a new essay being released to subscribers every single Monday. So that will keep them busy on Mondays as well. And in between it, there's other bits and pieces that we'll be covering, whether it's reading comprehensions or clues tishkinti or Gramadach. We'll continue with some of the grammar stuff. I've been trying to front load some of the grammar work now, so that you understand as you go through the essays in depth over the coming 2-3 months, that you actually understand what the grammar is. I hope people appreciate that fact, that we're trying to get the essential stuff done early, so that, you know, there's no point in me talking about the third declension in the month of July when it's no good to you at that point. So that's why we're doing it early. And we'll look at Díochlaonadh as well in the next week or two. Try to make sure that you're on top of every single one of the changes that could happen. And we also need to look at adjectives as part of the changes. But once you have the first 5 done, the basics of Tisha, you should be able to crack on. Okay, William Kesha, are there any questions before I go any further? Let me just go into the chat here. Boardamon deal tar course so close. Very good, Sheila, you got that one right. Sorry, I missed that. Ítach or fad. So more William Kesha, unless there's any other questions, we'll stop for today. We'll be Arash Tronono March Egadoy. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 o'clock. I hope you've all enjoyed the lesson. Thank you again for anybody who sent in any comments or any emails. I got a good few over the Easter, people sending very, very nice comments and complimentary about the lessons, which is lovely to hear. Spread the word, tell people about this, because, you know, this thing is real now. It is happening. The Leaving Cert is going ahead, and people will need as much help as possible. There's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things right now about what they're doing. Some of it, the quality is okay. Some of it is not great. Some of it is good. But there's a lot of different things out there. The one thing, you know, for sure with me is you can see what it is. It's there in front of you. It's free for everyone to see. And if you like it, you like it. And I think most people do. Universally, I think we got 99.2% likes on any of our material since we started this. So that's a fairly strong vote of confidence in what we're doing. People seem to like the way I'm going about it. I'm always open to suggestions. So if there's anything that you want to suggest that I change in the way I'm doing it, feel free. But it seems to be, I stand corrected, but it seems to be the case that people are really enjoying these lessons, and they're hitting the right notes. And they should do. I'm at this a long time, so I kind of know where students are and what they want. So, Gurmil Magwif, Intach Wilchev in Enachlam Marishinyo, Agasula Dia Fekime Gakenya, Trono Mark, Egg, Manle, Egg Doyug, Bemidan Shaw, Agus Egoberag, agus leantar leis an obair agus yeah, we're going to do this, guys, and stick with it. I know it's tough. I know people were saying in the comments earlier, it is tough, but we will get through together, and with the help of your teachers and any work that I can help you with here, we will get through this, and it will work out. All right.